The Our Town program each and every week is brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust. It's hosted by yours truly, Darren Swinson, and we're glad you're with us each and every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. We have three guests on the program this morning. Brad Chamberlain, Luther College president, will meet with us to discuss the college's move to the Midwest Conference beginning with the 2026-2027 school year. We also we'll talk with the Decorah School Superintendent Tim Cronin. Tim will have a discussion with us, giving us an update on the progress towards the new elementary school. What's being done right now? When can we see shovels in the ground? Everything like that. But our first guest this morning is Roger Huinker. He will be holding a symposium tomorrow on fighting fraud. It will take place at the Decorah Senior Center. And Roger will give us some tips on how to do so. He is our first guest on Our Town, brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust. And the radio station is right here at 94.9 and 99.1 The River. And we are having a conversation right now with Roger Huinker. He's going to have an it's regarding preventing scams. And Roger is I know you've held many events like this in the past. Before we go into the specifics of your event itself, how big of an issue has scams become, let's say, over the last 5 to 10 years?
Oh, it's just growing leaps and bounds. Unfortunately, Darren, it's incredible. When I talk to banks and law enforcement and computer companies, it's just ongoing and continually getting bigger. And unfortunately, losses are just escalating with individuals who really get financially hurt by these scams and fraudsters out there. So it's very, very unfortunate.
How hard is it for banks and for law enforcement to keep up with scammers? Because seemingly from the outside looking in, a lot of these scammers do a pretty good job of staying ahead of the curve when it comes to defrauding people. Is that a fair way to put it?
I think that's very fair, Darren. They are, unfortunately, they're professionals in what they do, which isn't that crazy. Professional fraudsters, that's what they are. They know how to hit the right button on people, particularly seniors, Darren. They really can really manipulate their conversation and cause alerts and crisis situations and put the alarm button on these seniors and make them really scared. And they get them to push the button to buy gift cards, do anything because they are so good at what they do, unfortunately, that people get caught.
Is a lot of it just taking advantage of the good-hearted nature of many citizens?
Very much so, Darren. I think it very much. They hit the hot button, like grandparent scams, and the thing today, Darren, is the artificial intelligence. When I've done these seminars in the past, people say, well, I know it's a scam. I play around with them. I talk to them and I just kind of lead them on and so forth. But today with AI, they are recording your voice, and when you say yes or I certainly agree or something like that, you may be signing something up, and they're taking your voice and they're going to use it in a scam, maybe with a grandson or granddaughter or whoever, and using that voice, and you're going to say, "Oh my God, that is my grandchild. They need help. I'm going to get them out of there." So, and also they fall for they fall for it, and they wire money, they transfer money, and they do all kinds of unfortunate things, and they're out the door. They're out of luck. They've lost it many times.
And tell us about the event you got coming up tomorrow on how to stay ahead and prevent these scammers. Give us the
Yeah.
specifics of the event.
Yeah. Well, this is conducted. I am a volunteer with the Retired Senior Volunteer Program, and this is one of the topics when I joined up to be RSVP, one of the topics they said, "Would you mind being a speaker about fraud and so forth?" And it's called Fraud Fighters presentation, and it's through the Iowa Insurance Division. And what I set up is I'm kind of the facilitator, and I have a panel. I have a panel of law enforcement. I have the representatives from the police department, a representative from the sheriff's department, a computer tech person, and also a banker. And we have a panel. And what I do is facilitate a conversation. And what we go through is what is going on in our community right now as far as fraud. And so they give you examples of real life incidents that are happening today in our communities, in our communities, and how it's affecting many people, and the losses are unfortunate. So we're just, with the whole thing, Darren, is awareness. Be careful. Don't, if it's too good to be true, it probably is not true, and so don't go along with it. Hang up. Don't answer the call. There's so many things happening. I see it I'm getting all kinds of scams on my phone right now, calls from all over the country. Don't even answer it. Just click. If there's somebody that really wants to get a hold of you, and it's a personal call, they'll figure out a way to do it. But don't go along with it. It's not good.
Give us the who, what, where, when, and why. When
Yeah,
will this seminar take place coming up tomorrow?
it's at the Decorah Senior Center, which I don't know. My address is left me. I think it's River Street, I believe.
Yes.
River Street, and it's at 1:30. It's going to be about an hour. It might be an hour and a half, depending on questions. We want people to ask questions. There is no dumb question. We want the audience to ask questions and be. It's all good, and this will be it'll be presented there about 1:30 till 3 or so. And there's going to be, as I said, representatives from the law enforcement, computer tech people, and a banker. And so we'll have this panel, and we'll just tell like it is, and unfortunately talk about what's going on in the fraud and abuse issues happening in our own community, in our day-to-day lives right here in Northeast Iowa. So.
And obviously, we want people to go to the event and get more specific information tomorrow. But you touched on it a couple of seconds ago. That is the general rule. If it sounds too good to be true, it is true. Is that the healthy amount of skepticism people should have when dealing with these potential?
Oh, yeah. And don't go along with it. Don't, even though you think it is, don't add to the conversation. Don't get into it, because there's too much. Like I mentioned, this AI stuff. It's scary stuff. There's when there's a storm and there's a hailstorm, and all of a sudden you've got all these companies calling, "I'll fix your roof," and all this stuff. Well, they're 5x9 companies. Chances are you're going to get a down payment. You're going to ask for a down, and they're going to show up. They're going to ask for 10% or 20% down, and they're gone. And you're out the money, and you don't get your roof repaired. So there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of things going on with warranties today. It's just sad situation. So check in. I don't have the number. I'm traveling right now. I don't have the number to the senior center, but you may want to check into there. The last time we had it at the senior center last fall, we had over 70 people there. So it was a pretty big event. So we're hoping we get a good number of people there. The more, the better. The more aware people are, the better. So.
And I know you've been retired from banking for a few years. How much have things changed regarding scams and fraudulent activities, even since you've been retired?
Oh, I think it's escalated. It's now it's going from individuals to businesses. There was major wire fraud in our own Northeast Iowa, in Dubuque and Dyersville, over $500,000 wire that was intercepted by a scammer. So there's a lot of things going on. West Union had a major $30,000-$40,000 expense that they thought was that they were billed to say wire the money. It wasn't the company that they were supposed to be paid. It was a scammer that just duplicated the billing and went to the wrong place. So sad situation. So please, if you don't be, I want people out there not to be embarrassed. Everybody gets caught in this, so there's not, don't feel bad if something happened, but we want everybody to be aware. The more awareness, the better it's going to be for all of us.
Anything else the public needs to know as long as you got the forum this morning?
I think that's what I want, and I'm going to give them a booklet that they can take with them, some tips, and a lot of information as well, so that they can take with them, and then pass it on to their family members as well. So they'll have something to take with them as well. So.
Roger, we appreciate you taking a few moments, and we appreciate you providing this information that is all important to avoid yourself from getting scammed. We all have good intentions. We all have good hearts, but there's people out there that want to take advantage of those good intentions, and it's best to do what we can to stay in front of everything. We appreciate you taking some time this morning, and hopefully it's a full house at the Senior Center tomorrow afternoon.
Sounds good. Thank you, Darren. Appreciate it. Have a good day. All right.
Roger Huinker joining us, a seminar regarding frauds and scams tomorrow afternoon, 1:30 at the Decorah Senior Center. Having a conversation with Decorah School Superintendent Tim Cronin last Thursday night. The Decorah School Board got an update on the elementary school project planning, and some discussion was held related to the budget aspect of that planning as well. Tim, what came out of that meeting?
Yeah. So on Thursday night, the board met with Myron Construction, and they're our construction manager at risk. So their charge is to deliver an elementary school for the school district at the $38 million budget price. And the great thing about using a construction manager at risk is they get involved in the process in the design phase, and they help design the building so that you don't get to a phase where you've got the building half built and you have to cut $2 million off. And then you make a change you don't want to make. So what Thursday's meeting was just part of that process. And looking with the board on a $38 million school, we were the current budget as estimated is a little over $2 million over. So we had a conversation that just kind of looked at some of the features and some of the things that maybe we would take out, trying not to cut out space, but just we did two things on Thursday night. We cut out some features of some type of brick used, and maybe the way the windows set that will save money. So some just design changes. And then the other part we did was we took parts of the project and we're going to pull them out, and we're going to use different funding sources to do those. And the big one was they had budgeted a little over $1 million for furniture and equipment. We were kind of already planning to spend that out of our PEPL and SAVE budget like we did with the high school. But obviously, and if you don't have to buy those kind of things through the project, then you don't have to pay a percentage to the architect and the CMAR. So you actually save a little bit of money in general. But that was what the work was on Thursday. The big thing with going through the design phase, I would say one of the big elements was we've worked through with the staff. We've got rooms kind of spaced out where we want them. And we had some space on the second floor that was just not assigned, wasn't needed, because we'd moved the rooms down to the first floor and put the staff in a space down there. So the project's going to save about $500,000 to not build a little section of the second floor, about 2.5 classrooms on the second floor, or space for 2.5 classrooms just won't be built because it isn't needed. And so obviously being able to tell the construction manager that now, then they'll work with the architect and we can get the design, the building designed, and that's not a cost you could have taken out if you were halfway done with the building.
And we should emphasize, I know there was conversation regarding the gymnasium that is going to be built along with this school, but that gym's being taken care of via Pebble dollars and Save dollars, or one or the other. But it's not the bond issue dollars that's paying
No,
for
no,
that
there,
gym,
there was
correct?
there was always going to be a gymnasium in the building. What we did was we took and the board passed that they would set aside $3.1 million in Pepple or Save. My guess is it'll probably be Pepple, but those funds kind of are used interchangeable to make the gym from 10,000 square feet up to about 13,000 square feet. So increase the size. But it was always going to be a decent sized gym or a good sized gym, maybe about the size of the middle school is where what started out. It just got supersized.
And related to the planning process, the conversation that you've had with administration, teachers, those that work in the building itself, are those talks now done and they move on to the architect, or where is that process at?
So we're in the last phase. We got to circle back with a small group of staff and just kind of review their space, make sure it fits their needs, and that's coming up next Wednesday. And so after next Wednesday, we should be done with what the DD, which is the design development, and then they can move and basically you've got an outline of a building, and now they're going to turn it in to blueprints that they could work on that, turning that into something that you could set out for a bid.
And when it comes to these blueprints, are they going to be made public prior to shovels going into the ground?
Yeah, what it won't be the blueprints exactly. We'll have layouts of the building, of course, and there's a 3D model that will walk people through the building, and we'll record that and be able to get that on the website for sure.
Will any of this have to go before any city zoning or city council end of things? How will that process work?
We've worked with the city on kind of the landscaping space. With regards to the plans for the school, I know you asked me that last time. That's not, I guess part of the process will involve the city as much as we need to. That hasn't been on our radar with designing the school at this time.
And related to just the eventual groundbreaking, in best case scenario, when would that happen?
Yeah, so it looks like we'll be breaking ground in the spring of 26. So, what, about 8 months from now, 9 months from now? There was in some earlier designs, maybe we could have done some stuff this fall. But one of the ways we can save money is not have a building season over a winter, and we could still get into the building in the fall of 27, which was always kind of the target date. If we'd started a little bit this fall, maybe we could have moved in over spring break, but moving in the middle of the school year is not ideal either. So you'll probably see dirt moved in the spring of 26. And the nice thing about that is then all those fields that get used, and I'm thinking about the softball field will be available all summer and fall. That kind of public diamond right down there by the 24-hour lot, and then of course the tennis courts, because that's going to be, we're going to be without tennis courts for a couple years while this project goes on. So we do get fall tennis for the girls that we wouldn't have had if they had started to move dirt this fall.
All
So we
right.
get a home court for the girls.
Anything else the public needs to know right now?
No, but I would encourage you to check out our video. Our board meetings are recorded, so you can go online and watch that video. You can link that right off of our website. They've got drafts of the drawings and a little bit of the 3D you can see, not walking through the building, but you can see a little bit of the 3D and get a real nice update on what the board kind of put as priorities to take out to get this but to get this building back on budget. So if you're curious at all, check out the video of the meeting. It was an hour and 45-minute board meeting, but it's pretty interesting.
All right, Tim, I know you squeezed in this conversation in the middle of your Iowa High School Speech Association meeting. We thank you for taking a little bit of time in doing so, and we appreciate the conversation and information as always.
Hey, thanks, Darren.
Tim Cronin, Decorah Schools Superintendent. Having a conversation right now with Luther College President Brad Chamberlain. Earlier this week, it was announced that Luther will be leaving the American Rivers Conference at the end of the upcoming academic year and will be joining the Midwest Conference for the 2026-2027 school year. And Brad, when it comes to a decision like this, obviously it's not something that happens overnight. How do you initiate conversations like this? How long of a process were these discussions that ultimately led to the announcement that was made earlier this week?
Yeah, thanks, Darren. This type of decision is, you said, not one that we would make lightly. This is one that has substantial process. It was not something we would have rushed into. As we've shared with our community, both on campus and off campus, this decision resulted from a period of discernment that lasted years in length. I think in terms of the most recent period of discernment began in 2022 when Luther received an invitation from the Midwest Conference. We were not in a position to act on that invitation, but it did initiate a period of discernment in terms about Luther's identity, Luther's investments in athletics, and how its athletic conference alignment supports those goals with it. So that discernment began in earnest over the last couple of years and then was reinvigorated this academic year. We had conversations with Luther's leadership team, with our board of regents. We had some conversations with some of our key alumni. Obviously, we involved our athletics administrators in that conversation and our coaches as well. Those conversations with our coaches were primarily this spring, just thinking about conference identity, and that ultimately led to an invitation emerging at the end of May, and Luther deciding to accept that invitation.
How was it determined that the Midwest Conference was the best place for Luther moving forward?
So Luther did some substantial analysis from a variety of different set of considerations. We looked at how Luther aligned with the American Rivers Conference. We looked at how Luther aligned with the Midwest Conference, and there was another conference that we considered as well as part of that discernment process. And ultimately, the decision was made that on balance, there were more areas of alignment with the Midwest Conference, especially looking at how Luther's going into its next chapter with Norse Athletics and the investments we're making there.
And what were the similarities with a Midwest conference as compared to your current conference or another conference that you were looking at?
So I think there was over a dozen set of considerations, but the three that I'm emphasizing, and they all kind of go in that category of alignment. It was kind of alignment of philosophy towards athletics, emphasizing the educational purposes of athletics. We say that athletics at Luther is about community character and competition. We also say it's about learning. We think a lot of learning happens in athletics at Luther College, and we want to lift that up. So we saw alignment in philosophy towards athletics. We saw alignment in the geographical reach of the Midwest Conference with the geographical origins of Luther's student body. Luther is a proud Iowa college, but only about a third of our students originate from Iowa. We draw from the four-state region. We want to lean into that four-state region as well into the future. And then we saw alignment between the membership of the Midwest Athletic Conference and the Associated Colleges of the Midwest. And so that's the academic consortium that Luther belongs to. And we saw those three areas of alignment and overlap in particularly to be powerful, both symbolically and operationally for Luther moving forward.
And when it comes to a decision like this, it will have different effects on different sports, there's no doubt. How do you go about making a decision that's best for the college and the athletic department overall, and maybe not just looking at one or two individual sports?
No, that's true. And we did not just take into consideration impact on one or two sports. We looked at the impact on all of our sports. And when we had conversations with our coaching staff, we grouped them into smaller conversations. We broke them into four groups of what we anticipated might have been some of the impacts on their individual sports, and wanted to hear, frankly, from their perspectives as coaches in terms of how that conference alignment and the possibility of a conference change would affect their particular sports. We saw a number of sports where we think that the impact might be neutral. We see several sports where Luther's teams may be more competitive, and we see several sports where Luther's teams will face more competition. And then we saw, particular impact with two of our sports, wrestling and golf, that are not currently sponsored by the Midwest Conference, and so we had particularly focused conversations with those two sports in particular.
And you bring up wrestling and golf. What's the process for them moving forward? Are they going to be independent? Are they going to look for affiliate memberships? What's happening with those two sports, both men's and women's, moving forward?
So both of those are possibilities. We've talked with our coaches and we've talked with our communities both on and off campus. So our initial approach is to seek affiliate membership, whether it's in the American Rivers Conference, if they're open to that, or potentially another conference. And should that not come into focus, then we'll talk about how to have those sports thrive as independents.
And looking forward, when this happens, to folks that have been around Luther College athletics, the rivalries of the American Rivers Conference mean a lot to alumni. But when you look at the student athletes that are coming into Luther College, did you do any study that about conference affiliation and what it means to them? And was there a difference between those two things?
So I'm going to be careful with the generalizations, but we did have conversation and we did take that into consideration. And this is why we did some really intentional outreach to some alumni to be thinking about that, to gauge what their reaction might have been with regard to those historic athletic rivalries. We had some conversations with students with it as well. And as you intimated, we did see a difference between students and alumni. Our discernment was that change is difficult for all stakeholders with it. And so with students adapting to that change, it's our sense was that our students were not as attached to conference identity as our alumni. And so part of this is making sure moving forward is that we try to maintain as many of those historic athletic rivalries as possible. I've reached out to all of the presidents of the American Rivers Conference as a group. I've had conversations with some of them individually expressing our intention and hope that we can maintain connections, that we desire to remain connected to those institutions. And we hope that there are some non-conference opportunities that we can schedule that will allow those historic athletic rivalries to persist.
Moving to the Midwest Conference, seemingly there will be more travel involved than you currently have in the American Rivers Conference. How much of a factor did that play in making this decision, and how do you go about maybe alleviating some of the concerns that the additional travel may bring up?
That was one of the considerations we took into account. And as I said, this has been a multi-year period of discernment, most recently beginning in 2022. But I think it's fair to say we've entertained this possibility prior to 2022 as well. And I will say that the math looked different, the travel impacts looked different to us when the ARC didn't have Nebraska Wesleyan, and then when it did have Nebraska Wesleyan. And so when Nebraska Wesleyan was not part of the American Rivers Conference, the travel implications of a conference change were more acute than they were now. So the analysis that we've conducted is suggesting that the travel will be slightly increased by joining the Midwest Conference, the conference travel, but we anticipate to have shorter non-conference travel. So the sense and the calculations at this point is when you consider both conference and non-conference travel, it's about a neutral impact on travel.
And looking at the future of Luther Athletics, obviously a new athletic director will be coming in. As we talk to you on Friday morning, June 6th, give us an update on where that process is at.
Yeah, so this is an exciting week for Norse athletics. You know, I'm looking out my window at the crane, kind of going through the later stages of the renovation of the Jardine Fieldhouse. We've made this announcement about the athletic conference, and this week we are having interviews with our finalists for the new athletics director. So we have 3 of them on campus this week. Our last one is on campus the early part of next week, and so we anticipate having an exciting announcement about Luther's next athletic director within a week or two.
And you walked into my next question. Give us an update on the Fieldhouse renovation. How are things going on that end of things?
Going really well. And as we've shown our finalists, given them a tour of the facility, they are deeply impressed with the pace of change, the scope of change in there. Things are coming together. We've got paint and carpet in some of our new locker rooms. The opening part is coming together. So we're on pace to have that Fieldhouse project completed by the end of calendar 2025 in large part. And we'll do the official ribbon cutting in May of 2026.
All right, Brad, we appreciate you taking some time to talk about a lot of changes related to Luther College North athletics. Change sometimes a difficult thing, but it's always an exciting thing too. So we thank you for taking the time to have a conversation with us.
Thank you, Darren. I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Brad Chamberlain, Luther College president, talking about a lot of new things coming to Luther College North Athletics. Our thanks to our guest on the program this morning, and we want to thank Roger Huinker, a seminar regarding fighting fraud taking place tomorrow afternoon at the Decorah Senior Center at 1:30. Definitely an important issue, and we thank Roger for giving us some tips on how to avoid getting scammed. I want to thank Tim Cronin for updating us on the Decorah elementary school situation. And we also want to thank Brad Chamberlain for giving his take regarding Luther College leaving for the Midwest Conference. So I want to thank each and every one of you that tune in on YouTube every week. We realize you're busy. You can't always get near a radio or a streaming device, a smart speaker, or any other way you consume our audio content on Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. But video-wise, you can get this show anytime. Go to 612 YouTube on YouTube, take two, click, take two. Go to 6-12 Our Town program if you're searching things on YouTube. We also put these shows linked on our Facebook pages, all of our LA Communications radio station Facebook pages. It's one way we do our best to keep in touch with you, because without you guys, none of this makes sense, and just another way to consume our content. Want to thank our guest, want to thank our sponsor, Decorah Bank and Trust, and we thank you, that's right, you, for tuning in, for logging on, and for watching Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River.